This is Honest Neighbour, a podcast about real estate, Oxford County, and everything in between.
Neil, do you want to introduce us?
No.
Fine. Ben?
Okay. I think we call this the Honest Neighbour podcast.
But I don't know the tagline. That's why I couldn't do it. Sausages, love, and...
In Oxford County. Where do you buy your sausages in Oxford County?
It all depends, because I don't like to buy I like to buy store-bought sausages that aren't name brand.
I go to Mighty. Well, my brother sends a pig to Mighty.
Yeah, like something like that.
Like, do you... Okay.
But I like all types of sausage. I'm a sausage lover. Like, they used to compete with bacon when I was younger.
I'm going to get
Me
you
too.
blueberry
I love sausage. Like, I like bacon, but I think sausages are still
too.
pretty fantastic.
We send, my brother sends full pigs to Mighty, so we get like a full pig done.
What is your blood pressure?
I know.
Actually, mine's pretty low.
I'm
There's
so
no
jealous
way.
of that.
Because actually, I just went to my doctor when I went and got ADHD tested there. And
You passed that with flying colors.
Well, they said to me, Neil, you're 46. And I said to them, they go, when you're 50, you're going to need to come in for fun time. And I was like, oh, okay. And they go, unless we have reason to believe
that it's time now.
We need to check earlier. And I said, I don't think so. And they said, did your father or anybody in your family have anything? And I guess my father had colon cancer twice. So I only found that out just recently.
Can we?
Because I haven't talked to him in 22 years.
Gosh.
So then I went to the doctor and said that. And I thought, uh-oh. So then he goes, well, let me just hop on and look at all your numbers from before. And he hopped on. And
Not
he
what
goes,
I thought he was hopping on.
my blood pressure and all my numbers were way below.
What is your
my
blood
God.
pressure?
I don't know what it
eat
is now.
sausage
I
like
haven't-
it's your job.
No, I don't eat sausage. That was a long time ago.
All Ben
that
and
was in
I
my
get
youth.
photos of regularly is what Neil is consuming,
But that's
crazy.
ice cream.
which is typically junk food. And yet
No.
you like...
Well, no, and like good meals and like desserts.
yeah.
Like you guys love your
You
desserts.
go to the bakery.
So where do you get your sausage? You said you like sausage.
I like sausage, but
store-brand.
the bakery stuff is mostly for my wife.
Yeah,
So
of
I
course.
eat
You don't eat
it.
it?
I do, but not to the same extent.
It's to support your wife, right?
It's like if 6 of the items are for my wife, 1 of the items or 2 of the items is for
I
me.
understand.
Like if we go to Cortland's, I'll get a couple of apple fritters. But like, all the other cheese crowns and all that sort of stuff and the chocolate eclairs, those are for Pam.
Whenever I get like apple fritters, they're gone before I even get out of the parking lot. Like,
Oh, I know.
I
Yeah, I have
crush
2
them.
of them. 2 of them. Yeah.
My husband went to Tim Hortons yesterday just to get me an apple fritter because
That's my
I
like
wanted
weakness.
one.
When I'm having like an annoying day and I just like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like
but Tim
I will go
Hortons
to
apple
Timmy.
fritters are shitter now.
I don't care.
They're
I
close
don't
to my house.
care. It's easy and fast and like $2 and you can
Yeah.
just eat
But there's
your feelings.
juice in them. Why is there juice
Oh
in
my
an
God,
apple
I
I
fritter?
didn't have
the
one like
same
that.
thing.
You've said that before,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. There's
He's
some liquid
right.
in the apple fritter, and I think that
Liquid.
Tim Hortons, if you're listening,
They're not.
Your lineups are way too damn long, and you need to get rid of the shit in your apple fritter. But
their drive-through should be coffee only.
I think so too. There's one
But
in
what about
Mount
one
Hope.
apple fritter? It's quicker to
There
get
was-
an apple
That's
fritter than a coffee.
But like no food, like
In
sandwiches
Mount
or
Hope,
whatever.
there is an express line at the 401 Tim Hortons,
Really?
and they only allow you to get cookies and drinks.
Yeah, I'd probably break that rule.
Interesting. Yeah, we know you would break that rule. Ben went through.
Like the only time ever that I've not followed the rules to a T.
So Ben went through the express checkout at No Frills the other day with 19 items.
I know,
I
and the
saw
limit
that.
is
I
12.
commented on that
Yes,
post.
and I was not berated, but I think lectured is the right term.
I mean,
By a
look, you
late-
broke the rules.
Yeah, for sure. But like normally people who bend the rules slightly in their favor receive no consequences whatsoever, and they just go about their lives. Like, for example, the people who just leave their damn shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot, or
yeah.
when I mentioned this to you, when I worked grocery store before, it was the asshole that would drive his car up to the door and just leave it idling there and come in to get his milk. Meanwhile, the whole store fills with noxious fumes from this idiot's car because they're so much more special than the 80 other vehicles that are parked in
Properly.
the demarcated zones specifically for vehicles.
Yep.
So I became that asshole the other day, not pulling up, but I went through the express checkout with 19 items. And the sign
And
said
you
12.
rightfully got told.
And the teenaged, I'm not really bad at ages, but I assume that she was late teens, like 18-ish maybe, was like, just so you know, next time this line is for up to 12 items and you have 19 items.
Also, if you are that girl and you are listening, I would like to offer you a job.
Bravo.
So
I appreciate you.
me.
I was completely like a deer in the headlights. Like, holy shit, am I getting reprimanded in a grocery store? And I was with my wife, which we never grocery shop together. It's so unusual. And to tell the story,
she doesn't seem like a rule breaker.
She's not. So to tell the full story, she didn't see the sign. I did. I noticed things. But I had no idea how many
we're gonna need
items were in. I didn't know how many items were in the basket because I was just like a toddler hanging out with the grown up at the grocery store. Like, can I get the? I actually tried to put decadent chocolate chip cookies in the cart, and she said no. Like, that's what that was. So anyway, it was like Friday night. We were going out for dinner together, and we just happened to pop in there before. So I was being silly, goofy, whatever, and we got lectured by a teenager, and it was
rightfully
awesome.
so.
I don't know. On my comment on your post, I think that I had some validity on there. I wonder if they were really just saw an opportunity to take a shot at you. They didn't give a shit about the rules.
Well, my mom made a good point. She's like, maybe the manager was watching, and this cashier was trying to earn some points or something.
Oh,
maybe
because honestly, it felt. In retrospect, and at the time, we were just laughing. Like, it was so funny. Like, oh, I guess we broke the rules. Like, sorry. You know?
I still stand firm. If this girl is listening or watching, I will offer you a job. So just give me a call.
Imagine her on your paperwork. Just so you know,
you were missing one initial.
Yeah.
Speaking of ADHD, I feel like we were going to talk about sexism in real estate, and now we're talking about Neil's colonoscopy.
I like where we went more. So if we're going to talk about like sexism in real estate, I would actually rather talk about Neil's colon than that.
And where he buys his
because
sausage.
I know, like, whatever I say, someone out there is going to be like, "Oh, that asshole."
Oh, totally.
Man.
So okay, can I make a few comments?
Because
nobody's going to say Kelly's an asshole.
Because even my post, like taking the piss out of myself for breaking the rules at the grocery store. I unfriended somebody after that post.
Why?
Because the comment that person made was so like personal.
Really?
And yeah, it was no, it's gone. I've deleted it. It's like it was such an ad hominem attack on me that I was like, you know what? I don't want to associate with this person anymore. There's always you can't say I can't say anything on social media without somebody being like, hey, like, you're an idiot.
But that's
right?
social media.
I gotta give
everything.
you props. I'll say this to you, Ben. You have do a very good job of engaging with your people on your.
But it doesn't always go well.
You are very tolerant. There's some people that I see that I know on your friends list that, you know, I think they chew on bark, and you know.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know. They
They're
just
harsh.
seem like they're backwoodsy, kind of not too clever.
Okay.
And, I don't know. I've seen them sometimes ask you or challenge you on stuff, and most of the time you handle it very well. So
I would agree with that. Actually,
I'm like, holy, how is Ben dealing with this?
I'm trying to like stop engaging because it's problematic for my own mental health.
So the thing about social media, though, that I actually think is interesting as realtors is we obviously have to be on social media. That's part of what we have. Well, maybe not Neil. Neil outsold both of us and is not on social media. The thing about social media, though, is I do feel like, especially as realtors, we are a very easy target. People have this instinctive like desire to be mean to us sometimes, and so if they see a good opportunity,
difficult,
then they do.
Either.
Well, you do sometimes post inflammatory things.
I like to take positions.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's also.
You do, but
I have said this before. I learned through debate, like all the way through high school. We did debate, like I did debate club, and we did like the Model United Nations, and it was all debate. And I like it. I like being challenged, and I like taking a position and trying to defend the position.
And that's a great way to learn.
And then I listen to what other people say. And if they post something that isn't just some whack job on YouTube ranting about it with like eerie music and like clearly conspiratorial, I will read it and I will take it in.
So you're not afraid to take a position.
Kind of like how I said about how you deal with music yesterday. How I said with music you have a tendency to strip away all the peripherals and you look at it at its own merit, right?
Well, people, like I think you and I have experienced this with music discussions before, and that like I will bring up an artist and you'll know like about their personal life and like, oh, that's this person that did this thing, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I just put the album on.
You are really into Casey Musgrave's ex-husband.
Yeah, what's Rustin Kelly?
Rustin Kelly.
Really into him,
Shape and Destroy is a great album.
I do like Rustin Kelly.
Yeah.
That's a great album.
No, but I think you mentioned that album to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Casey Musgrave's ex-husband.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, and fun fact, he was becoming sober as she was starting on mushrooms to try to be more creative.
Did she write that whole article or that whole album on mushrooms?
Golden Hour?
Golden Hour.
Yeah, that one maybe? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that was, I mean, that might have...
Did she lock herself in a
marriage.
cabin in the woods or something, or did I make that up?
She might have. Okay, so if you're not afraid to take position, is there sexism in real estate?
There's some.
So is there more sexism in real estate than other similar professional careers?
Oh, I don't think there's more. No, but I think it's a different... So I'll tell you my thoughts on
I can't wait. I've been waiting for this.
No, I think that the expectations of women and men in real estate are just a little bit different, and that can be good and bad. So, no, I'm not going to articulate this very well.
We can edit, Kelly.
The same thing as how the women who say are like strong or firm are viewed as bossy in any industry. That can happen in real estate. So I think you and I could approach the same situation with the same words, and they would look at me as bitchy and you as like
overly aggressive.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I certainly get that.
But actually, the only thing I think that's maybe a little bit, that's a significant difference or more of a consideration is women in real estate have to be acutely aware of their safety at all times.
That's
a massive thing.
I will give you that.
Probably the one thing. So
but that kind of ties into some of the marketing decisions that women may make in real estate.
I'm rolling my eyes at that.
You're not rolling. So I'm not victim blaming.
Yeah.
But when you do the training, that's like safety training, what is one of the things that they insist you don't do? And it's like overly sexualizing your marketing materials.
That's fair. That's fair.
It is. Unfortunately, we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, that's fair. But I got
just
called.
The reality of life.
So in about 2013, 2014, I forget exactly when, I had to involve the Woodstock police because I was being stalked by somebody that was repeatedly calling me like via real estate. Ugh. And it turns out that person essentially was. Well, they had some significant. Maybe that too.
Did you say horny?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
Just kidding.
There's my
That's
point
pretty much
right
given.
there. But they had some pretty significant mental challenges, and I believe they might have had some developmental delays.
I have to like.
You proved my point. Thank you, Neil. But okay, so anyways, I brought this up at an office meeting just to remind female realtors to be cognizant of their surroundings. You know, don't meet people alone that you don't know, that sort of thing.
Right.
And a male realtor at my office said, well, what do you expect? You have your bare arms on your sign.
Oh my gosh, your bare arms?
I know, my bare arms. Like they, my post-baby bare arms. And like that kind of comment, I'm just like, you have to be kidding me. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I was told that my bare arms caused this person
hear that the same way
call me. You wiener. So that's the kind of thing, though, that you guys just don't have to think about. Like,
yeah, my bare arm shirts don't.
I think you should start wearing tank tops to your showings and just see how that goes.
Wife beaters.
Please.
Okay.
I mean, I think the thing with sexism in real estate, though, is that it does exist. You can't pretend that there is no sexism in real estate. But I would agree with you that it's the same as other industries. And I would also agree that sometimes females make the situation worse. And I'm also not, I would like not to victim blame, but we as females have to be careful if our marketing is very overly sexual. That's a problem because we shouldn't be selling houses because we're pretty or sexy or whatever. We should sell the houses because we're good at our jobs.
There is I will say this though, there is to some degree, people have a right off the hop, they have a direction they're going to go with their agents. I've watched this, as you guys know. I notice things that are kind of odd at times, but I will put Pam and I will be on a listing, and Pam's name will be first, or vice versa, And it is interesting to see what dynamic of people who gets called. Because sometimes it'll be, if I get 4 female agents call first on a deal, quite often, even if my name is the first name on the listing, Pam will get all 5 of those calls or 4 of those calls.
So to clarify, when you post a listing on Realtor.ca, you can have 2 or 3 agents' names and numbers visible, and Neil's referring to the order in which those names and numbers appear. Right? Okay.
And so those names and numbers, one would assume that in a lot of cases people call the first person, because the first person on the listing is traditionally the person who is the general contact point, and they actually traditionally have the most amount of information.
That's fair. Yep.
Okay.
That's how we've done it when we've co-list
situations. Female agents would call Pam, and as opposed to calling me. Now, mind you, I was in another situation though where. And I have been in situations where people will say, I would like to work with a female agent, or I will work with a male agent.
Yep.
A lot of people, I have had female partners in the past who have brought me into a deal because the person, wherever they were from or whatever, decided that, right off the hop that they weren't interested in working with a female from the beginning. And I'm not suggesting that's right in any sense of the way.
That does happen both ways.
It does happen both ways.
I've had single female clients who very specifically hired a single female agent, or, well, not single, but like a female agent. I'm not single.
You will be if you have to be, though, right? Sure, yeah, I'm single. That's fine.
Being single is my favorite.
My husband's in sales. He'll totally appreciate if I have to be single for a week. No. But...
Sorry, Justin.
He's such a good person, too. I do think that sometimes, especially single females, do look for other female realtors. But I agree with you that there are certain people, men, who are looking for other male realtors. That may just be who they jive with better. And that isn't necessarily a sexism thing.
It's a comfort thing. Because you have to actually look at fitness clubs. You do see female-only fitness clubs.
Right.
You don't see that. That has nothing to do with performance or ability.
No, it's because men are discussing pigs at the gym.
I believe it. I don't go to the gym, but I would imagine that it's like that.
Once upon a time, I did.
Tell me where the beach is.
So, I don't have numbers. Maybe you know this more than I do, but like, are females not overrepresented in real estate, but is there a larger percentage of female agents than male agents?
In Ontario, apparently not. Apparently, Ontario is backwards.
Well, that's true in many ways, but yeah.
Apparently there's more male agents than females, but I was looking at the numbers of the National Association of
in the States?
In the US?
Yeah.
Okay.
60% are
60?
female.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, mind you, in commercial real estate, where I play, only 20% are.
Okay.
And do you think that commercial real estate is more sexist?
Oh, absolutely.
So you would agree with that?
Yeah. I'd agree with that. And that's because they're just so amazingly underrepresented. I've only encountered a few females, comparatively, that I've spoken to. And I actually find, even when I work for I have a lot of female clients. They're calling the shots. It's their company. Mm-hmm. And some of the buyers, I've been in a million situations where they just don't believe, or that the person who's making the decisions is a female, or they just act like it doesn't matter. It's that part of it I do notice. And I find it a little disconcerting.
I think one of the things that's really cool about real estate is that there's a well-known issue of income disparity in many different careers between men and women. It's published. It's kind of undeniable.
Yeah, it exists.
That real estate is 100% commission-based. So that is one of the careers that exists where women have every bit as much income potential as men. And
in some cases, actually, I remember doing phase 3, and this is going back 18 years. But my teacher for phase 3 is at the time, it was the final articling period for your real estate courses. He said, he always said females ended up doing better in real estate because he said that males always tried to change the wheel and find a way to do stuff simpler and make it simpler. Oh. And a lot of the females he worked with just went out and did the work.
Just worked harder.
Went out, did the work, hit the grind, and they did it. And because they weren't trying to change stuff up, they had a tendency to perform.
Well, like without naming names, mentally think about who the top 3 or 4 agents are in our market. in terms of market share.
I'm going to think of just in our office, and the top one is a male, but then the numbers 2 and 3 might be female. I'm not totally sure. It's not me. I'm probably top 10, but I'm not top 2 or 3. Although I did, I can tell you that 1 month last year where I finished second.
Yeah, felt pretty good, right?
It did feel pretty good, except that I just can't beat that number 1 person. And
was that me that time?
No,
it wasn't me.
No,
I'm never number 1.
No, and I commented to him, I'm like, if I'm going to lose to anybody, I'm happy I lost to you. But
I always tell him that he doesn't really count. I go, you're kind of an enigma, so really I'm kind of like...
Okay, well, if he doesn't count, then I was totally number 1. But actually, if you think at our office, probably 2 or 3 of the top agents are male and 2 or 3 of the top agents are female.
Yeah,
and even you and
board-wide, I mean, women are, in my opinion, equally represented in the top, let's say 20 in our area for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ben and I think we finished very close to each other last year in terms of our stuff
within
too.
1%, I would think.
Of what?
Of each other in terms of our commission.
I think you guys probably beat me last year. Or this year.
I don't know, but we finished very close to each other.
You guys did, so I'm not going to give you any more advice, Kelly.
I will tell you, so far this year's off to a terrible start. So if you're looking to buy or sell, please.
Same. I think this year's off to a terrible start for a lot of people, but January is always slow, and then February picks up.
Yeah, we talked about that. Neil's kind of like, well, quit banging your head against the wall when there's not a lot going around. Like, there's not much you can do. My issue has been, it feels like I'm getting close to the finish line multiple times, and then everything just falls apart for many different reasons. But
for sure,
it's like a lot of work and like no payoff.
Same. Have you ever had like a ton fall? I've had 3 deals fall apart in 24 hours. That was like...
That's a great time. That's when you book a little weekend getaway and just say
3 mutual releases. I actually signed 3 mutual releases in 24 hours.
I had one of those days while I was pregnant with my son, who's my firstborn, it was about April 2012. And that would have been the 3 deals would have been life-changing for me in terms of that year and what maternity leave looked like. Right? And that was very stressful. Actually, I lost a deal a couple days ago. Or I didn't lose a deal. I lost a listing to another agent because their price was higher than mine that they think the house is going to sell for. And unfortunately, I'm right. I have checked the numbers a million times. I got second opinions. I think that the other agent did what I call buying the listing, where they just came in a little bit higher to secure that listing, and then they're going to beat the seller down to get the price reduced. And if it's listed and it turns out it's actually a good agent that doesn't do that, I'll change my tune. But
maybe you were wrong, but you probably weren't.
I probably am not wrong on the price, unfortunately. And I do think that's going to happen a lot this year, where agents that are more truthful and honest and accurate in their pricing might actually struggle a little bit more, because I'm going to be honest with people about what their house is going to sell for. And I'm not going to, I call it buy the listing. I'm not going to buy the listing. It's not worth my time or my reputation to take a listing at a price that it will not sell for.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
And that's what you're going to see a lot, though. You're going to see, because we've had 2-3 years where agents didn't have to have any sort of precision on their CMAs. They didn't have to be within $5,000. They had to be within 100.
Yeah.
So now we're fallout of that is gonna.
The issue always has been is in an appreciating market, if you overprice by $30,000, you just have to wait a little while, and then the value will catch up to your price.
Right.
But in a declining market, which we are currently in, if you don't price it aggressively, you need to make a singular massive price cut in order to get it in front of the actual value.
Yeah.
I've got one situation I'm dealing with right now where the seller, it's not my client, but it's part of a deal that I'm part of, and he refuses to do one big reduction. He keeps going $10,000 at a time. And at $800,000, like, you're talking about a small incremental decrease in price.
Yep.
But if that place has gone down $30,000 in value since he listed it, and he's reduced his price by $30,000 in $10,000 increments, he's never getting in front of the market.
Right.
You have to make that one big move.
Chase it down. Yeah,
and he'll just be like languishing on the market. And you can only explain that so many ways and so many times before you kind of go, well, I guess you're just like, it's not going to work.
So to me, probably the stupidest price reduction is a $10,000 price reduction.
Well, in this market.
I actually think in any market, because the reality is, if someone was going to give you $10,000 less than your list price, they already would have offered that. So I've always taken that opinion.
It depends on the percentage, I guess.
Honestly,
but 10,000 at $1 million is way different than 10,000 at
like
399.
10 years ago, 10,000.
But even then, okay, so say it's $399 and you go to $389. Realistically, somebody would have already offered $389.
What about those like
so it's
retail
$375
barriers like $409.9 to $399?
So I try very hard not to list at a $409. There's no point. Just go to $399, and if you have underpriced that house, you will get multiple offers. Well, even in this market, if you
never go over
something.
the $409 because it's the cutoff for Realtor.ca
on the brackets.
Yeah, so you're putting yourself in a higher search bracket.
I always show people the search brackets. Yeah,
like
just to
400
say
even.
But you got to go under it a little bit. So let's say there's like 10 listings at $399, then I think you should actually be at $397. And by that point, the seller hates me because we've gone from $409 to $397.
No, their price was $599.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Now, mind you, this is it's a $10,000 example, but it's 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I had a property where I had a COS on the property, and the
COS is condition of sale.
Conditional on sale, okay. Yeah, sorry. So the seller, the buyer of the property that I had for sale had to sell their property in another city to enable the purchase. So this was over by the golf course here on the Sally Creek side, like on the other side. Oh, sorry, yes. That's right. On the other side. So and at the time, it was just sitting there. It backed right onto the golf course, and it wasn't moving. So these people, the house was a builder's model. It was $379,000 is what I had it up for, and these people had an offer on it. They were coming from like Kitchener, and their house was like $400,000. They just couldn't sell it. And what I ended up doing was saying to them, saying to the sellers of my house, look, lower your price $10,000. I know we have a deal for $389,000 on your house. Go back to the sellers because they're not buyers, because they're not buying their house, and they cannot lower their price anymore. The agent said, look, we don't have the numbers. Yeah. So I said, offer them $10,000 off, but it has to be based on the fact that they lower the price $10,000 on their house before you do it.
Yes, I've done that.
And that worked 100%. And it was only a $10,000 price.
Yeah. But I have done that before. Or I've had situations where we had like an accepted offer at a certain price, and then the people who were buying that house weren't getting the amount of money they needed and had to come back and say, okay, we know we agreed on $500,000, but we can only complete this transaction if we actually pay $485.
Right.
And at that point I say to my sellers, this is your decision.
Yep.
We do have an accepted offer. You will have no obligation to complete this at this new price. But if you do want to move ahead, here's your chance. In the current market conditions where the market's declining, I would take that offer all day long to make sure that you do actually complete that transaction if that's important to you. Mm-hmm. Right. 2 years ago when the market was so good, I would have said, heck no. Somebody else will come here
5 minutes and get a better offer
and give us more money. But now we don't have that luxury. Yeah. So I do agree with you in some scenarios, but overall, I don't think $10,000, unfortunately, because prices are so high, $10,000 doesn't mean enough. It did 10 years ago.
We got off our topic, Kelly.
You guys are just so grateful that we're off the topic of sexism in real estate.
I feel like I kind of danced around it sufficiently.
I think Neil loves it when female realtors only use the idea that sex sells instead of their actual brains to do marketing. He hates it so much.
No, it's just some of the marketing is.
And there's such an interesting thing.
Deep.
I have a separate business and personal Instagram. And certainly, like on my personal Instagram, for example, if I'm on holidays with my family and we're at the beach, I might have a picture of me in a bathing suit. Right. But I certainly am not putting that on my work or like
How
Facebook
careful? Like when you
Instagram.
Post that, are you just like, oh, I should crop this a little bit?
I do think about that because there is a ton of
higher
crossover.
Or lower? Because some agents clearly crop lower.
You know what? I think I am so fortunate in that most of my clients actually do know me on a personal level. I don't have to think about that too much anymore. But I do think about it a little bit, and what I post on my personal page still reflects the fact that I am a professional in the community and that I am a realtor. And so I'm mindful of what I post.
I saw
a
couple of your
stuff.
swimsuit photos, and I saw some comments that a couple people would say. And I got right in there and I was back and I was like, she has the right to bear arms, motherfucker.
Oh my goodness, those arms are going to come back to me, you know. I wish I was getting business just because of my arms. Like, I can do like 10 push-ups now.
Yeah.
I know. Why aren't people flocking to me for that?
There you go.
So I figure we probably just glanced at sexism in real estate in this particular episode.
That's okay.
I am okay to broach this later. As our listener probably knows, we have not got a lot of... we haven't spent a lot of time doing this yet, so I'm a little bit nervous about
That's fair.
going too far into that. And
We can even save that
Especially with
for another.
being castigated for saying the
Because
wrong
Kelly's
thing
gonna make
slightly.
himself look so good. I'm sad. Sorry, we're still
All
recording.
right, let's wrap this one up.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks for listening.
I wrecked that one.
No, it's fine.
No, you didn't wreck it.
Feel free to wreck things.